Cancer, how many nights have you whispered the same words to yourself? It wasn't supposed to end like this. This was meant to be. There's something tender in the way you hold on. Not just to people, but to what could have been, to the stories you built in your head, to the quiet promises you made in your heart. You remember the first smile, the spark, the plans that felt like prophecy. You replay every detail as if understanding it will make it real again. But let me tell you something, love. Meant to be is not a contract. It's a mirror. It reflects what you needed to believe at the time, so you could give your whole self, love without reservation, and dream beyond your limits. It gave you hope, and that hope made you grow. But now it's time to understand something deeper. Just because something felt destined doesn't mean it was meant to last forever. Sometimes the universe sends you a chapter not to complete your story, but to awaken your authorhood. You are not the character who watches life happen. You are the one holding the pen. And maybe, just maybe, what was meant to be was never about the person, the path, or the plan. Maybe it was always about the becoming. The truth is, what hurts the most isn't the loss. It's the attachment to the meaning you gave it, to the version of your future you saw through someone else's eyes. But Cancer, what if your real future isn't behind you, but waiting quietly inside you? What if this heartbreak wasn't a failure, but an invitation to return to your own heart, to hear its voice again, to stop chasing something that no longer exists, and start listening to what does? Because even now, beneath the grief, beneath the confusion, beneath the ache for what was, your soul is whispering, "Darling, we're not going backward. We're not broken. We're just beginning." Cancer, you are not the person you were when you made those choices. You were younger. You were softer. You were just trying to survive something you didn't have words for. So why do you keep holding yourself hostage to decisions made by a version of you who was just trying to feel loved? You chose what you chose, not because you were weak, but because in that moment, that was the only way you knew how to feel seen, to feel safe, to feel something. And maybe that version of you stayed too long. Maybe they ignored the red flags. Maybe they thought they could change someone, heal someone, be someone enough to be chosen. But that doesn't make you broken. That makes you human. There's no shame in who you were. There's only evidence of how deeply you've loved. And now that you know more, feel more, see more, you think you should have done better. But love, clarity always comes after the fire, not before. You learned, and sometimes learning costs us parts of ourselves we thought we'd never lose. But here's the sacred truth. You are allowed to grow past the version of you that didn't know better. You are not frozen in time. You are not required to keep wearing the identity that formed in someone else's chaos. You are allowed to forgive yourself, to say, "I did the best I could, and now I will do better." Not because you hate who you were, but because you love who you're becoming. So take a breath, Cancer. Place your hand over your heart. Can you feel it? That quiet pulse, that gentle rhythm? That's life. That's proof. You are still here, and you are not defined by the cracks. You are not reduced to the regrets. You are not your past choices. You are the soul who made it through. And you're just getting started. Cancer, when everything fell apart, when your dreams cracked and your spirit faded into silence, what remained? When no one came to check on you, when the phone didn't ring, when you were lying in bed, staring at the ceiling wondering, "How did I end up here?" What remained? A whisper, a glimmer, a presence so quiet you almost missed it. The star, not a voice from outside, not validation from the past, but a flicker from deep, deep within. Something that said, "You are not done yet." The star doesn't shine the brightest. It's not loud. It doesn't demand. It just stays. Even in your darkest night, even when you curse the sky, even when you stop believing in yourself, the star still believes in you. This card comes after the Tower, after the breakdown, the chaos, the end, and it doesn't fix anything. It doesn't promise a return to the old life. Instead, it offers something more radical: hope. Not naive hope, not the kind that waits for someone to come save you, but resilient hope. The kind that wakes up with you after a night of tears, brushes your hair behind your ears, and says, "Get up, my love. We're still here, and that means we can begin again." The star is your future, calling you gently back home. It reminds you that you don't need to know how things will work out. You just need to trust that somewhere inside you, something has already survived the worst and is ready to grow. Cancer, what if this star isn't far away in the sky? What if it's lodged inside your ribcage, glowing soft and steady, beneath all the fear? What if all you need to do is stop chasing outside of you and start listening inward? You don't have to have the answers. You don't have to be ready. You just have to be willing to take one breath, one step, one small act of trust in yourself. Because the star doesn't lead with certainty, it leads with light. And even the tiniest light can find its way through the deepest dark. Cancer, there comes a moment after the tears have dried, after the silence has spoken, after the world has stopped spinning, when something stirs within you, a decision, a whisper of willpower, a deep, steady voice that says, "No more waiting. I'm taking my life back." This is the moment of the Chariot. And Cancer, this card is you. Not the you who feels lost or heartbroken, but the you who knows that emotion and movement can exist in the same breath. You don't have to stop feeling to start moving. That's the magic of the Chariot. It carries both grief and fire, both memory and motion. The Chariot is not a reckless sprint. It's not about running from pain. It's about rising with purpose. You harness your own opposing forces, your fears and your desires, your doubts and your dreams, and you say, "I may not have all the answers, but I refuse to stay stuck in a place I've outgrown." That's power, not perfection, not performance, but presence. It's choosing yourself without needing permission. It's remembering that no one is coming to rescue you, because the warrior you've been waiting for is already inside you. Cancer, you are so used to protecting others, nurturing others, pouring your strength into those who never learned how to hold it. But now it's time to direct that love inward. The Chariot doesn't move because the path is clear. It moves because the driver believes they can handle whatever lies ahead. And you can. Yes, you might tremble. Yes, your heart might still break open some nights. But you can still move. You can still choose. You can still command your direction. You are not defined by where you've been stuck. You are defined by where you decide to go next. So take the reins, love. Let your tears water the road behind you, and let your will carve the way forward. You don't need a guarantee. You just need momentum, because the moment you say, "I deserve more, I want more, I will create more," the universe starts responding, and the Chariot begins to move. Cancer, how long have you been waiting? Waiting for closure, waiting for clarity, waiting for someone to apologize, waiting for the pain to make sense, waiting for a sign that it's okay to begin again. You're not lazy. You're not broken. You're not indecisive. You've just been holding your breath in a life that kept asking you to wait a little longer. And yet, time has kept moving. Sunrise after sunrise, The world kept spinning, but your heart? It stayed in that hallway, between what hurt and what could be. You told yourself, I'll try again when I'm ready. I'll move forward when I feel stronger. I'll say yes when I stop missing them. But love, life doesn't wait. Not because it's cruel, but because it knows you are more ready than you believe. You've been living on pause, because it felt safer to stay where nothing new could hurt you. Because at least in the waiting, you knew the pain you were carrying. But here's the truth no one told you. Waiting can become its own kind of wound. It's quiet, invisible, but it bleeds slowly, draining your joy, your courage, your time. And darling, your time is sacred. No one is coming to knock on your door with a green light. No ex is going to return with the perfect words. No divine voice is going to announce, now you're allowed to live again. You must choose it. You must claim it. Even with the heartbreak, even with the doubts, even with the ache that hasn't fully healed. Because you don't have to be fully healed to be fully alive. You just have to say, I'm done waiting for life to begin again. I'm already here. And I choose to meet myself now. And that choice, that single breath of defiance, it shatters the spell. Suddenly, you realize the pause was never real. It was fear dressed up as protection. But your spirit, it was never made to stay still. You were born under a moon-drenched sign, ruled by tides that move, by emotions that flow, by instincts that whisper when it's time to rise. And Cancer, it's time. Time to wear colours again. Time to laugh without guilt. Time to take a different route. Time to flirt with life. Time to belong to yourself. You are not on pause anymore. You're pressing play. And the universe is listening. Cancer, have you ever looked in the mirror and felt like you were staring at a stranger? Not because your face changed, not because time left its marks, but because somewhere along the way, you started hiding. You covered parts of yourself. You dimmed your light when it was too bright for others. You smiled when you were breaking. You said, I'm okay, when what you really meant was, I don't know who I am anymore. The world rewarded your masks. They called you strong. They said, you're handling it so well, and maybe a part of you even believed it. But when the night comes, when the phone goes silent, when no one is watching, what do you see in your own eyes? This is where the moon enters. She doesn't ask for your performance. She doesn't care for the masks. She's not interested in how perfect you look under the sun. She wants the truth. Even if it's messy, even if it's aching, even if it's a version of you you've tried to bury. Because, love, you cannot heal what you refuse to see. The moon reveals not to shame you, but to return you. Return you to the parts that still cry at night. Return you to the inner child still waiting to be chosen. Return you to the fire you forgot you had. But this process, this sacred reckoning, it's not comfortable. You might tremble. You might want to look away. You might say, that's not me. I'm better than this. I've moved on. But the moon says, no, you haven't moved on. You've just moved around. It's time to come home. Home to yourself. To the version of you that doesn't need to perform, please, or prove. The moon teaches that clarity doesn't always come from light. Sometimes it's born in the shadows, when you sit still enough to hear your heartbeat, when you cry without needing to explain it, when you admit, I don't know who I am without the pain. That's where the truth lives. That's where you live. And Cancer, you are not too much. You are not too sensitive. You are not broken. You are simply feeling. And in a world that often numbs itself, that's not a flaw. That's your gift. So look again, into your own eyes. See the woman, or man, or soul behind the survival. You are not lost. You're just returning. And the moon is lighting your way. Cancer, you were never meant to carry the weight of other people's silence. You were never meant to carry their guilt, their anger, their inability to love you right. But you did. Because your heart is wide like the ocean, and when others didn't know how to swim in their own feelings, you became the raft. You listened when no one asked how you were. You gave when no one remembered to give back. You held space for everyone else's storms, while quietly drowning in your own. And now, you're tired. But this isn't just exhaustion. This is the soul-level fatigue that comes from carrying burdens that were never yours. 10 of Wands. The card of the over-responsible, the emotional mule, the silent supporter. But let me tell you something, love. You are allowed to set it down. You are allowed to say, no more. You don't have to carry their unhealed trauma. You don't have to fix their broken promises. You don't have to keep being strong just because you're used to being needed. Strength isn't about how much you can hold. True strength is knowing when to let go. Let go of the guilt. Let go of the what-ifs. And 4, let go of the stories where you're the savior, even when no one ever came to save you. Let go of the belief that you must always be the one to understand, to forgive first, to reach out again, to make peace with pain that's not even yours. Because you deserve lightness. You deserve breath. You deserve to walk through your days without dragging invisible weights behind you. So here's a moment for you now. Close your eyes. Picture each burden, each person, memory, expectation, as a stone in a bag you're carrying on your back. Feel the heaviness. And now, imagine dropping the bag, all of it, right here, right now. Let it fall. Let the dust rise. Let your shoulders remember what it feels like to be free. You don't have to explain it to anyone. You don't need permission. This is your liberation. Because Cancer, you weren't born to suffer beautifully. You were born to live deeply. And the world needs you whole, not weighed down, not burned out, not lost beneath layers of too much responsibility. You are not responsible for their healing, only your own. And that is more than enough. Cancer, do you remember the last time you laughed, without checking if it was okay? The last time you danced, just because the music touched something ancient in your blood? The last time joy wasn't something you earned, but something you allowed? You've spent so long surviving, so long grieving, so long apologizing for still being affected by things others forgot long ago. But joy, it hasn't given up on you. It's just been waiting, quietly, patiently, like a flower pressing through concrete, soft but unstoppable. And now, it's your turn to let it in. You are allowed to be happy again, even if you're still healing, even if it ended badly, even if no one said sorry. Joy does not mean forgetting. It does not erase what happened. It does not make your pain meaningless, but it says, I survived, and I still have room inside me for light. This isn't about toxic positivity. This isn't about pretending everything is fine. This is about choosing in small moments to touch life again with bare hands, to say yes to a good cup of coffee, to laugh too loudly at your favorite movie, to sing off-key in the car, to flirt with the sky when it turns pink at dusk. It's about finding beauty in the little things and letting that beauty belong to you, not as a reward, but as a birthright. You don't need to explain your happiness. You don't need to tone it down so others feel comfortable. You don't need to apologize for smiling when people thought you'd stay broken forever. You are not a tragedy. You are a sunrise. You are a beginning. You are joy, reclaiming its space through your body. And yes, some people might not understand your glow. Some might say you've changed. Some might wonder how you got up after all that. But let them wonder, because joy, real joy, is not quiet. It roars. It beams. It reminds the world that healing is real. and that softness is a superpower. So Cancer, laugh again, flirt with the future. Let yourself want beautiful things. Let your hands reach for sweetness, without guilt, without fear, without apology. You are allowed to be happy again, and you are allowed to stay that way. Cancer, for so long you believed that love meant saying yes. Saying yes when you were tired. Saying yes when your heart whispered no. Saying yes even when the yes broke you. Because you didn't want to disappoint. You didn't want to lose them. You didn't want to seem cold, unkind, distant. But love is not about abandoning yourself. And now, you are awakening. You are learning that you can be soft and strong. You can be kind and clear. You can love deeply without losing yourself in the process. The Queen of Swords stands tall with her sword in one hand and her truth in the other. She is not angry. She is not bitter. But she has learned boundaries are not walls. They are doors. And you decide who gets a key. Your energy is sacred, Cancer. Your time, your empathy, your space. They are not unlimited resources to be drained by anyone who simply asks nicely. You don't owe anyone constant access. You don't owe explanations for needing space to breathe, to heal, to simply exist. Yes, some will be uncomfortable. They were used to your self-sacrifice. They were fed by your overgiving. But you are no longer starving yourself to keep others full. This is what love looks like now. Saying no without guilt. Saying not today without shame. Choosing you, not because you're selfish, but because you're finally listening to your own soul's whisper. Protect me. I matter too. And you don't have to prove you're good by being available 24/7. You don't have to stretch yourself thin to be lovable. You don't have to carry others beyond your emotional capacity. The Queen of Swords teaches discernment, not judgment, but discernement, to know who adds peace to your life and who only arrives when they need saving. To know when to open your arms and when to close the gate. And most of all, to know that your peace is not up for negotiation. Cancer, it's not rude to have standards. It's not cruel to protect your heart. It's not too much to say, this is what I need to feel safe, seen, and respected. Your boundaries are not the end of love. They are the beginning of self-respect. And from that sacred ground, every connection you grow will be truer, cleaner, rooted in mutual honor. So raise your sword, softly. Let your no be as loving as your yes, and let your life bloom, not from obligation, but from clarity. Cancer, look at how far you've come, not just in the world outside, but in the silent landscapes within you. You've walked through heartbreak, with your hands trembling but open. You've carried grief and still made room for love. You've burned and bloomed, fallen and risen, let go and let light back in. And now, here you are, not broken, not unfinished, but whole. This is the medicine of the world. It whispers, nothing was wasted. Every piece of you belongs. The pain that once made you question your worth has become the soil where your wisdom grew. The loneliness that echoed for years taught you how to listen to your own voice. The endings you thought you wouldn't survive became the doors to something truer, softer, more you. You didn't just heal, you returned to yourself. And now, you are ready. Ready to love with boundaries. Ready to trust without abandoning yourself. Ready to choose peace over chaos. Ready to receive, not just survive. You're no longer asking if you're too much. You're no longer shrinking to fit old stories. You're no longer waiting for someone to give you permission to shine. You've given that to yourself. And that is the most powerful magic of all. So Cancer, take a breath here. A full, sacred, soul-deep breath. Feel the weight you've shed. Feel the space you've made. This is the moment before the next beginning. This is the moment where you're no longer chasing closure, because you've already closed the door. With love, with truth, with peace, you have become the home you were always seeking. And wherever you go from here, you carry that home with you. So step forward, glowing, not because you have something to prove, but because you are finally free. Free to love, free to choose, free to live, and above all, free to be you.